Hello, we are in the club shop and I'm with club manager Dan Foray. We have an event going on today. What's that?
We've got Richard Lee in today, so he'll be here with Greville, and there'll be book signing ahead of the game. She is Greville's book, so he's the author of the actual book.
Sorry, whose book?
Greville Waterman. He's the author of the book, and he'll be signing with Richard Lee in the store today.
Yeah, I was sitting on a plane last June, coming back from Spain, and I thought I was a bit bored. My wife had just beaten me at Scrabble yet again, and I thought I would start writing about Brentford. And since I've been coming for 50 years, it just carried on, and 300,000 words later, it became a book. And what it is sort of a viewpoint, hopefully as entertaining as it can be, about what happened last year, what didn't happen last year, what might have happened last year, what should have happened last year, all leavened with sort of background, history, old players, old games, everything that I can still remember whilst I can still remember things. It was a blog that sort of went up pretty much every day, or probably 5 times a week, and a publisher, that worked with Richard Lee, who's on his way here now to help sign some books, saw it and said that could make quite a good book. So that's what's happened.
I did the majority of actually on a plane journey in the summer, as soon as the season was over. Obviously Greville told me back in November, yeah, it's been November, December time he was going to write the book, and no, great idea, and more than happy to contribute.
And what juicy bits do you give away?
I can't be giving the story away now, can I? Look, we need people to buy copies, you know? Yeah, no, it was good. It was actually quite similar to, obviously I wrote the one before, quite cathartic, you know. It was spent obviously a bit of time going through it and just memories that came up from the season, and look, it was a special season, you know. It was a shame it didn't quite have the ending that we all wanted, but it was, no, fantastic. And obviously, yeah, Greville's a very talented writer, so no, it makes for a very good book.
And are you in touch with everyone at Brentford still?
It's changed a lot already, but no, I'm in touch with quite a few. I talked to a lot of the lads on a regular. In fact, I spoke to a couple of them yesterday, so they know that I'm here, and no, looking forward to watching them play today.
You are watching then?
Oh, of course. Yeah, no, I'm not going before kick-off. Yeah, no, of course I'm staying.
He's on the bench.
Yeah.
Towards the Preston fans in the Brook Road end in the first half, and we're underway on this excellent pitch here. It's just been watered as well on this beautiful afternoon in West London. Here's Button, brings the ball out to Varweg, down the centre. Nice little touch to Vibe. Vibe a little bit careless with that pass, trying to find McCormack, and they come away on that far side with Alan Brown. As the ball's played down the centre, and there's a good run there by Ewan Doyle. Doyle boys the ball across, chance here, great save by Button. This could be in the rebound from Johnson, and it is. And Preston take the lead within 30 seconds here at Griffin Park. It's a nightmare start here this afternoon. A free kick by the goal scorer Johnson into the box, another header. Not far past that far post. Brentford could have been 2 down in 2 minutes. And it's headed away, but it's straight back to Stevie May on the far side. He's onside, edge of the box. There's numbers in the box for Preston as well. Here's Johnson. Edge of the box, brings the ball away. Shot by May, goes to the top corner. It's not far away, just a foot over the top of the bar. And Preston are looking rampant here, Richard. A corner for Brentford, right in front of the tunnel. Judge to take it, whips the ball in. There's a free header.
Oh, what a save!
What a save! How did Barbe not score there? It was a brilliant header, did everything right, down into the bottom corner. And
That's an incredible save.
Bidwell this time, and a half volley from Bidwell there from the corner from Judge, and another good save by Pickford. That one was at him, but Bob. Corner going to be taken on the far side, the apex with New Road and the Ena Road. This one's chipped high into the box to the far post. Huntington heads it across, and that's Stevie May for the far corner. And now it's Button's time to create a fantastic save. It was going in the top corner from Stevie. Here's Vermeil on this right-hand side, back to Johnson. Johnson through the centre to Brown. That was given away by Brown. A poor ball. Now here's Jurachin. Can he play it through to Kirschbaumer? Kirschbaumer's through here. This could be 1-1. Great save again by Pickford, and then helped on.
An elaborate corner kick.
Well, we very nearly scored from our last two. That's one thing we have seen from all the work that's no doubt going on. That's Vibe with a shot, takes a deflection, and it's gone behind for another corner. That was out at nothing. That's better. Can the man on loan from Liverpool make a difference here? What that allows is Brentford to change their formation, go 4-4-2 now, And Canos will play on this right-hand side and Vibe down the centre, which is where we want to see him. Here is Canos. Canos cuts inside, gets past one, then another, tries a little ball out to the far side to Judge. Didn't quite come off, but he's back on the ball again. Here's Canos, down to the byline, straight in front, and he makes an instant difference as he plays the ball into the path of Vibe, who levels the scores at 1-1. What a dream introduction for Sergei Canos. He's only been on the pitch 30 seconds and he set up the equaliser. Into the centre. Button's still with it though, looking for options. He goes out to his go-to man Bidwell on that left-hand side. Juricin, lovely flicks through on goal here. Juricin, 2-1. He's done it again, Marco Juricin, and Brentford have turned it round in a space of 3 minutes. It's Brentford 2, Preston 1.
I did very quickly choose them. Cliff, Marinus, Rasmus, Phil and Mark. We're taking questions from the floor. Chris Wickham there will come around with the microphone.
Just offer the microphone to you. We would ask to wait until you get the microphone before you ask the question. It does happen at times that people just want to butt in, but in fairness to everybody, if we do it through the microphone, hopefully everybody will hear it. That apart, we have got microphones. We've got 6 microphones this evening, so we've got half a chance of everybody hearing everything. So we'd like to thank Alan for that. Likewise, if it goes wrong, it was Alan. Anyway, welcome to Fans Forum from everybody around the world, particularly here in the Hive. So we'd like to ponder the first question. If not, we'll move on very swiftly. As I normally do, thank you very much everybody for coming on this evening. Thank you, Chris. Thank you.
Evening, gents.
Yes, good evening, Dan.
Yeah, just actually, I've just come, one of the reasons we'll come down to Fans Forum today is just to find out what the top table's expectations are for this season, please.
Expectations. Shall we start with Marinus?
Possible, Peter. Thank you. For me, hard to say. As we all know.
Could be anybody. Could be anybody.
Mine's up.
It could be the front row as well, so just don't look at us.
For me, hard to say. As we all know, we are still struggling with injuries. A lot of injuries, also from big quality players. So that makes it difficult for me. Still getting used to the championship football. I've now a lot of games coaching, but I know now a little bit the level, but still not the level for our squad, because we are struggling with a lot of players. So we're getting better and better. Know my own team. I think we are proving the last games when we switched some things. We put Evan McCormack on the midfield next to Toumani. I think the balance is after that better. You see that against Leeds and Middlesbrough, and also Preston. So that's getting better. I think Alan Judge from off the left. He plays better than for the team and for himself than on midfield. So we're getting better. It's still hard to say where we are in the end of the season. So first, improve the team. I hope we get some injuries back, and then see what happens.
Thanks, Ryan. Rasmus, expectations for the season?
When we had the last press conference, I think the first Marinos was in, we said that we wanted to finish better than we did last season. I think that's still our target, but we're also realistic. We got to look at the current injury situation, and we'll see. We need to focus on. It's a boring answer, but we need to focus on winning the next game, and then we'll see where it brings us. But we still aim high. It's not that we have lowered our expectation dramatically just because we have a bad run of injuries. So yeah.
Cliff, can we ask you as chairman expectations for the season?
This is probably going to be even more boring. I've been quoted as saying this is not a sprint, it's a marathon. And like Rasmus, I'm very realistic. Our sights haven't changed. We have a strategy that sees us playing in the Premier League within the next 3 years. And so as long as we can keep to that strategy, if it happens sooner, then that's great. But Rome wasn't built in a day, and it does take time. There have been a lot of changes. I won't mention the I word again, but it takes time, and we've just got to be patient. We're definitely moving in the right direction. I think the strength in the squad is greater today than it was a year ago, and significantly greater than it was 3 years ago. And we just need to take each day as it comes, and I'm sure we'll get there.
Can we broaden that question to sort of off the pitch as well? So maybe introduce Mark first, if you may. Expectations for the season, please.
Pardon me. Sorry about that. From an off-the-field perspective, we're looking obviously to try and match everything we're looking to do on the field. We're looking to be as good as we can in everything we do, the way we communicate, the catering we offer. Everything we do around the club, we're trying to improve year on year. We won't always get it right, but one thing I can assure you of is that we will continue to look to improve on previous years. Some things you'll like, some things you won't like, but everything is done with the best interests of the club at heart. So the way we, our ticketing, the insight and data that we now get, so that we can market and talk to our fans in a much better, consistent, more coherent fashion. Everything we do, we really want to just continue to improve year on year. We've got a big job to do to fill Griffin Park on a more regular basis, and looking further afield to see that we can do everything we can to fill the new stadium. So off the field, that's what I'm looking for.
I'm wondering now if you're going to be asked later to expound on the things we won't like, but we'll worry about that later, Mark. Phil, not wishing to leave you out, expectations for the season?
Thanks, Peter. You didn't make the last. What else is there to say, really? I think we can't even predict when Maxime's going to be back, let alone where we're going to finish. So let's wait and see. Just see when we get our full team together, and we've seen progress on the pitch in terms of the way we're playing already. So it'll get better and better, I'm sure.
Thank you, Phil. We can take one from Twitter. Now, people on YouTube, if they want to send any questions in, suggest they do it via Twitter. Not if you're in the room, you can ask. But if you're on YouTube, send it in via Twitter. And we had one earlier from a James Porter. They asked the question, why have we so many injuries sustained during training? Very nice.
Yeah, I ask myself something always. Also, it's also a bit unlucky. I think also the main thing, our policy was to get a bigger squad this season. We get a bigger squad, and then we could rotate some players. There's a heavy competition over here, a lot of games. But because due a lot of injuries quick, you have to play with a lot of players the same. It's also good for the squad, but also it's very tough. I think then you get more injuries in training. So I think it's a bit combination from unlucky, and then players have to play more than maybe they are for the condition on that moment. So I think that's a combination. Some players get used to the championship football. So I think there's effects of combination of reasons. So, but I think the main thing is we're a bit unlucky.
Thanks, Venus. Now, for one awful moment, I thought Chris was going to break in the song, sitting there with the microphone to his mouth. Is there anybody who would like to ask a question to stop that happening? Nick.
Hi guys. Just on that about the injury side of it, you know, okay, I know it's down to a bit of bad luck on the pitch. I hear that a couple of players have been tripping up on twigs as well, so has caused injuries. But do we need to look at our training and fitness methods to prevent this?
No, I think we have a very experienced medicals, and like the build-up is maybe exactly the same as last season. So I think that's not the main reason. Yeah, sometimes in the season you get no injuries. Sometimes, yeah, they're all different injuries. So it's not the same. If you had 5 hamstring injuries, yeah, I think then is a fault from us, from the technical and the medicals. But we have all kind of stuff and a lot of big injuries. So I see no solution over there.
Okay, but just on the game against Middlesbrough, when we only had 5, I think it was 5 on the bench,
yes.
We put in 2 goalkeepers.
Yes.
The development team were up north the night before, I think it was playing Hull, so surely it would have made sense to pull a couple of those players for first team experience, and at least it made us look a bit more professional that night as well. Or was it a statement, you know, a lot of people have said it's a statement to Matthew, just to say, well, I've got 2 keepers on the bench, I want more players.
No, it was no statement. I think it's a good question. We discussed it also. We were up north for 5 days, and we get 2 injuries with Philip Hofman and with the Horski at the last moment. That was just for the game. I think when you sit on a bench, you also have to deserve it. So we look always to the under 21, and we have contact with Lee, the trainer, and say, when we need somebody, then who deserve it. And at that moment, there was all injuries, and it was not really youngsters who deserved to sit on the bench at that moment. So that's why we put Mark on the bench. He was also already with us and also played with under 21. I think for him it's a good experience to sit on the bench and see the game from near. So maybe it's a little bit strange to go, but he was already with us, so that's why we chose him. And we have, with all the subs we have all the opportunities to make changes, and then we can put somebody in there just for when you know he's not playing. So then he better can play in the 21. And but finally is you have to deserve it, and when somebody not deserve at that moment on the bench, and I think that's a bad signal, and that's why we now sometimes with Jermaine is. A couple of games on the bench and also make minutes. Just Clark is doing well, so I'm not afraid to get youngsters in, because when you're doing well, you deserve a chance. So we always look for that.
Thank you, Renus. Thank you, Nick. Just whilst nobody's actually asked a question about injuries, just like note on the website there's a complete breakdown and a very good one, a concise one from Neil Gregg, who's head of medical, and it will be, if you haven't seen it on the website, it will be in the programme on Saturday. Chris, the gentleman at the front here.
This is really, I suppose, a question for Marinus, but it's really taking most of the questions so far, Marinus. But you come over from Holland. I'd like to sort of understand your impressions of English football and what you think what the differences are between playing at high level in Holland and playing in the Championship, and about your football philosophy as well. Last year when we had Mark Warburton, he asked, what happens if plan A doesn't work? And he just said, we play plan A better. But have you got a different approach? Maybe it's a plan B and a plan C, I think you've said. So I'd really like to, if you're able to, is to sort of summarise your sort of football approach and your philosophy.
Okay, I start with the difference between Dutch League and Championship. There's a big difference. I think it's a different game over here, especially the pace and the tempo. It's so quick. It's for us unbelievable. Sometimes Roy and me look to each other during the games. What's happening over here? Last Sunday I went to a game Excelsior Ajax, and it was really boring. I'm get used now to this level and this tempo of the game. And also when my father was Saturday in with some friends and they enjoyed very much. They said, what a tempo over here. And I think that's a main difference. Also, the guys who's from German also said that the first game unbelievable. What a tempo! I think that's the main difference. It's sometimes less tactical. I think in the Netherlands it's more tactical, but that's also why it's more slow the game. So I think that's the main difference with the Netherlands, and the difference is the referee. No, it's not the difference of quality, but just the difference of how they whistle over here. There's far more allowed over here. The first couple of games I think, well, why is he not whistling? And now I also get used to it, but sometimes you see tackles. And then, they play the ball, but also, very dangerous. But then, when they play the ball over here, just they go further. And I think the referees are okay. I mean, they talk far too much. So we also know different balls. Is it a yellow? Just say nothing. And over here is it talking, and sometimes also yellow. So that's the main difference. About my fellowship, I wanted to play football. I think that's also why they picked me for this job, because Brentford was already playing good football. So not kick and rush. Want to play from behind. I want to play, but not open up totally. So when we play in England, we see a lot of the fullbacks both high on the pitch. I don't like that. When you lose the ball, then you are very vulnerable in the transition. So that's why we are try to change, and I think we already a little bit changed. When Bidwell is playing very high, then at this moment just like have to become inside. So I want to attack, but from a good organization. I think that's the main difference on attacking. And defending, I want a little bit more. We're a little bit struggling sometimes with the English players, especially when they want just to pressure everybody over the pitch. And we want a little bit more from the organization, and then give pressure to the opposite. So especially, I want to high up. It's not always possible. Sometimes also a little bit drop off, but especially at home, I think we have to get pressure high up, but also from the organization. So that's a bit different. Sometimes, especially the guys who are already in, want to attack every minute. I saw the last 5 minutes, Alec McCormack was playing right back last Saturday and running forwards. And we are shouting, but we are just on the opposite side, so it was difficult to reach him. Stay over there. And after the game, he said, I want to make the 4-2. So no, we have to defend the 3-2. You are a defender at that moment. So there's a bit the difference. I like to attack, but also play with your head. And sometimes it's too much on emotion and just attack and just pressure. And you like a little bit the mix from tactical, a little bit Dutch, and also the spirit. I like this very much from the English game.
Thank you, Marinus. It's very good. Come to you in just a moment, Chris. Can I ask a question to Rasmus? This is from Matthew Kerrigan. Can you explain how our transfer targets are sourced? And I know we use stats, but who watches these players and how many times are they watched before a move is made? And finally, part of this question was also, how do you balance stats from, say, Austrian League 2 compared to stats in the English Championship?
There is a very clearly defined recruitment process. It starts with a football question. What do we need to take the team to the next level? Then once those profiles are made, it goes to the stats guys who are then searching in a lot of different leagues. That's the benefit of having using data, is that it can give you a much bigger reach than if you have to send 5 scouts to watch 50 games. That takes a long time. With data, you can have the summary of maybe 5,000 games in a split second. So they are doing the search. Then we are filtering the names that gets on the table. We're filtering it down to 3 or 4 guys that then goes back to the football guys, and that's where the traditional scouting comes in, because then we sit down and we watch games. See, is this the player we want? Because stats can tell you something, but it cannot tell you everything. And it's finding that balance between what can stats help you with, and what can stats not help you with. And once there is a traditional scouting report that is now available with the stats report, then based on that, we obviously make the decision. And in Brentford we cannot get all the players we want because there is also a financial aspect to things. There's a question mark if they wanna get to the championship. But I think we've been lucky that we've been able this season to attract some players that had offers from on paper much better teams with much bigger salaries, and we need to think about all the time how we can improve the offer we have to players and make ourselves attractive. So to the stats question, I think understanding the balance between when to use stats and when not to use stats is really key for us. Sometimes when you read the media, you get the impression of that at the training ground it's just robots walking around and making decisions and with no human involvement, and that's not the case. The last part of the question were how would you compare the Austrian league with the championship? Well, that's a difficult thing for a scout, a traditional scout. I think you go to Austria and you watch a game, you can see a player stands out, but it's very difficult, no matter how many years you've been a scout, to really judge the context. What's the level of that game compared to the level you play at? This is the big benefit with stats. You are able to compare leagues relative to each other, and therefore teams in different leagues relative to each other much more accurately than the human eye. So there are teams in Austria that are really, really good, that maybe had the potential to play in the top 10 in the Premier League, but obviously paying for those guys, we pay a lot less than if we were going to buy a top 10 Premier League player. And that is one of the club's ideas of trying to exploit some of the inefficiencies in the market. It's still an experiment, I think. We think we need to do something different to win. And this is one of the things we're testing. And let's see in a couple of years when we've done some more transfers, if we're successful. Hopefully at that time we will be in the Premier League.
Thank you very much, Rasmus. Just going back to the gentleman at the front, Reece wants to talk about Plan B.
Yeah, Plan B, I always forget. We saw it against Ipswich Town. We were 2-0 down. And at that moment, Andrew Gray was still in. So we take a lot of risk and put Andrew Gray also on the striker next to Hofman. Then two things can happen. You can also lose with 5-0. Yeah, that's part of Zopton, and that's risk you take. And now we are lucky, we get the final 2-2. So that was Plan B. I think now we can also, when Hofman is fit, we also had the same with Hofman and Marco to play together for part of the game, or for maybe whole game, but that can be Plan B, so that's good. Yeah, and you saw it last game against Preston, and with last 5 we also have a possibly extra striker, number 10, or next to the striker, so we can also switch to Plan B, C. So yeah, there's different options, and especially when everybody is fit, I think we have different types, so you can also play a different game. So I think that's good, and that's also a little bit, we're now struggling in some games like Burnley away. Yeah, we were okay, but yeah, we have not a lot of attacking quality on the bench, or totally not. Yeah, then it's difficult to go Plan B. But yeah, you definitely need one everywhere, but especially over here, because the last half hour is very tough in the championship. The tempo gets higher and higher. So yeah, with more strikers on the bench, if we have opportunity to Plan B and C.
Thank you, Marinus. Thank you, Chris.
Sorry, Marinus. Another question for you. Sergi Canos on Saturday was the most exciting cameos I think I've seen for very many years, actually. Possibly since Berahino was here. How do you see him for the rest of the season? And secondly, how do you see him playing in the side if Jota is back as well?
Yeah, so this looking far in the future. Of course, Jota takes a while to get fit. It's a pity, but it's. Yeah, I think Sergi is a young guy who played under 21 with Liverpool, so I prefer to get him slowly in. So like this, play half hour, play 20 minutes. The first time he came in was against Leeds. He played 10 minutes. He said after the game, "I'm killed, Kaffa," because he's not used to the pace. So now I take a half hour. He also was killed, but yeah, it was a very good performance. So I was happy with him. He had the basic is very good. You see the education from Barcelona is very good. But I think this is a big step for him to play right on the start, or just came in. I think I prefer to bring him a couple of weeks in, and then we'll see. Maybe he's ready to start. I think that's the best policy for him. And yeah, when Jota's fit, you have an extra option on the bench, and I prefer to make options by quality and not by injury. So I hope they will be back, everybody soon, and make the choices. Good part of the job.
Thanks, Chris. Thanks, Marinas. One from Twitter, from Ryan Gaffney. I'm going to put this one to Phil, if I may. Will we adapt to the loan market in an attempt to sort Brentford's mass injury problem?
We may. We are constantly looking at the possibilities, the options. Marinas and I have exchanged emails over the last few days with regard to, do we go and try and get another loan in, and if so, which positions? It's an option. It's an option which we can take. I won't answer it yes or no at this stage, though.
Thank you, Phil. Anybody else with a question? Yes, there is. I can see a finger in the air. Obviously, a cricket umpire.
Question, I think, for Mark and Cliff. Previously at Fans Forum, we've discussed the living wage, and you said that it was being under consideration by the club. I just wonder whether there's been any progress now, given that there are more and more Football League clubs, and indeed a non-league club, who have agreed to pay the living wage.
Start with Mark. Yeah. Thank you.
Thanks for the question. I can confirm that we put the living wage into this year's budget, and staff are being paid the living wage. I can't really add much more to that. Okay.
Cliff, you're going to say ditto, basically.
Yeah, I think so.
Excellent. There's a good answer. An excellent answer, actually. Anybody else? That's far too quick. Gentleman there.
Yes, so that's probably a question for Phil and Rasmus, actually. If the club wishes to pursue the permanent signing of Marco Derci, has a pre-agreed price been agreed? And to follow up as well, is there money still left in the transfer budget to supplement the squad in the January window?
Phil?
Answer the first one is yes, we have a good position with Marco at the end of the season if we want to explore keeping him on, but we'll see how we get on with him in this season. And the second answer is
there a pre-agreed price already, though?
Yes.
Yeah. The second part was money in January. There's money to spend in January as well. We can go again. We've made some player sales, as you know, so that money can be reinvested. Now it doesn't mean we're going to sell players. I think we have a quality squad when everyone's back, and by that time in January, I think everyone bar Scott Hogan and Andres Bjelland will be back. So I think we've got to evaluate at that point whether we invest again.
Thank you. Gentleman at the front, Chris.
Thank you. I'm not sure who this is for. When we lose players, when players clearly want to get away, like Moses and Andre earlier in the month, is that simply because other championship clubs are able to pay them substantially more money, or is it that they think there's a better chance of getting to the Premiership with those clubs?
Probably best to ask Moses that one. As he's not here, I wouldn't know how to answer that, but Phil.
Yeah, I mean, a club like Hull can clearly, coming down to the Premier League with the parachute money and everything, can pay more money, and he had an option as well. So there's nothing we could do about Moses. With Andre, at the end of the day, it is down to us as well. It's not, the players can't just say we leave. We're getting more money. If we don't want to sell them, we won't sell them. With Andre, it was a very good price, we thought, for Andre, and we could do a lot of that money. So therefore, we said he could go, but we could have said no as well. So
thank you. It's a very controlled audience. Is there any more questions? Yes, there is. A couple more questions come up. Excellent.
I'm just going to ask Phil a follow-up on that about Andre. I mean, with the experience you had with Andre and the sale and the fast going backwards and forwards and going to join a different club every week, with hindsight, would you have done it differently? I mean, the fact is you put a price for him to sale and did nothing and would go. Is that a sound tactic?
It's go on, ponder that.
Yeah, I mean, it's a tricky one. I mean, players will often say, especially if they're interested in going to the club, well, can you name a price? Can they match the price? And then look to the club to match that price, and then in which case you have a deal. It's in future cases, would we put a price on it and then let clubs match it? I think it depends on the player and the situation in the club. In terms of whether we'd again say, right, it's going to be in this, hypothetical number, £4 million for a player. If a club matches it, you can go. We might say that, but we might not as well. So I don't think there was too much wrong in the tactic. We had a valuation, and I think it's a good strategy for us as well to know how we value the players. Not to be too vague about the price. We have a price for a player. If it's matched, then we'll consider the offer. But I don't think there was too much wrong in the strategy with Andre, and it just happened to be there was a lot of interest in the player from a lot of clubs, and they all wanted to get involved, and it was conducted a little bit through the media as well, which meant that everyone sort of saw that, which was totally out of our control at the end of the day.
Thank you.
Did it become a financial decision at the end? Was him leaving, was that a financial decision? I imagine it wasn't a footballing decision.
No.
And you got some other strikers who decided they want to leave during the window, and they didn't leave, and they were reintegrated into the team. Could that Brentford not taken that? Because I think personally he was too important a player, even at £9 million or whatever it was, to allow him to go to another team. Particularly when you've got all, the whole team is new, the management is new, the players is new, everything is new. To decide, to allow him to go, even for that massive amount of money. Was that sound?
Yeah, it wasn't an easy decision by any stretch. Obviously, Andre's a top quality player and will probably improve again as well. 1 year at this level and was improving. It was a financial decision. At the end of the day, the money was very, very good to turn down, and we knew that we had options. We knew we could get Marko Juricin in, and we were aware of his quality as well. And I think he started to show that. So you look at it and think, well, there's a line here whereby we have to make a decision. We can't keep him, regardless of the money. At some point, it becomes a sensible decision for us to make that decision, and we did that.
Thank you. Gentleman there, can I just remind you, I think Cliff would like to say a word.
I just want to add something on that. And the one thing we mustn't forget is that we don't hold all the cards. So when an agent talks to a player and says to the player, I can get you X per week, and X is an awful lot more than what he's being paid at Brentford, because that club either has Premier League parachute payments, or they have a 35,000 seater stadium, which they have 27,000 week in, week out, with 1,500 people attending and having lunch before the game. We can't compete at that level. So if someone came to any of you guys here and said, I can offer you 2, 3, 4 times what you're earning, it's very hard to turn it down, almost whoever it is. Now, there are certain clubs where players may choose not to say, well, no, they're not for me because I don't think they can go where I want to be. But if you're talking about clubs that have just come down from the Premier League, for example, with all the money that they have, we're not the people who can determine what the outcome will be. What we can do is make sure that we get the best possible price. And I think we did that with Andre.
Thank you very much, Cliff. Gentleman there with the microphone. Oh, there we are. Yeah.
Just wondering why Jonathan Douglas left. I mean, he was such a fantastic player, so knitting the team together. I think he was one of the reasons why we got promoted and did well in the Championship. Just wondering why he was allowed to leave. Seemingly it's not financial, and he's so experienced, such an experienced player. Always improved the team. You must have seen the reception he got when he came on as substitute at Ipswich. Obviously a very popular player. It seemed a shame that he left, and particularly we had injuries as well. But,
okay.
I was just wondering why Jonathan Douglas left.
Okay. Who would like to take that question? Phil would like to take that question.
We understand he was a popular player, as Andre was, and Moses wasn't. I thought we replaced him, and we have replaced him. We got Josh McEachran in, a young player, hungry from a very, very, obviously good club in Chelsea, but a good background. Played very, very well at Vitesse at the end of last season, and I thought, and we all thought, and it was a collective decision that we've got a replacement there who is 10 years younger, and we can move into the future. So that was the decision that we made.
Thank you, Phil.
Last season we had Richard.
Yeah, okay. Everyone's got the microphone. I do appreciate it, like Pierce, but if we can sort of talk when you have the microphone, just so the people at the back can hear what the conversation and the question is.
It's really for Mark. Mark, we had such a successful season last year. Why did we not just strengthen what we already had? I mean, no disrespect to the new manager, but he's not managed in this league, and the players that you're bringing in, again, have not played in this type of football that we play. Why didn't we just strengthen, instead of selling off our best players, just strengthen what we already had? I mean, we accepted Wolves as going, but I think a lot of them players wanted out because he was sort of pushed out.
It's been put to you, Mark. Not my choice.
That's okay. It's a fair question, and I think I've been quoted as saying I can understand the fans' disappointment when all the news came out last year. Credit to the new management team, and by new management team I'm not just now referring to Marinos, but I'm also referring to Raz and to Phil. The club have stated why we want to look in a different way, why we want to try and outthink clubs rather than outspend them. I'm glad I got that round the right way, because I previously tried to spend all of Matthew's money at the 125-year dinner. It's just a change in philosophy. We want to be able to compete and sustain ourselves for the next few years, get ourselves promoted and not be one-hit wonders, try and have a sustainable football club. And sometimes that means taking a risk and doing things differently if you believe that you can do things differently and be successful. We can't outspend clubs. We can't just simply go and, you say strengthen. We haven't got the financial dynamics to allow us to do that. We had to be smarter, and we wanted to find a management team that understood our philosophy, that can work with the Brentford way of doing things going forward. And it's going to be a bumpy road. It's not been straightforward during the summer and the start of the season, but we're still all committed that it's the right way forward. Everyone at the club believes that what we're doing is the right thing for the long term, and we understand the owner's vision, the owner's passion. So I think you have to give Marinos credit. He may not have come from English football, but he's got an excellent calibre and an excellent background in Holland. Phil and Raz have also brought some great attributes to the club. It's just a very different way of doing things. We appreciate that there's risk involved in it. It sometimes isn't as simple as just, strengthening. Lots of clubs have gone and strengthened. You've seen what Derby have done. They may or may not be successful, having spent 20-odd million pounds over the year. But, it's a different way of looking at things. We believe we're doing it the right thing for the long term, but we won't always get it right, and it will be a bumpy road from time to time.
Thank you very much, Mark. We've got two people here tonight who are always here at the Fans Forum, and they've been working diligently for seemingly decades towards our new stadium. But I can initially put this question to Cliff, but we do have Chris Gammon and Brian Burgess here tonight to help Cliff as well, if Cliff needed any help whatsoever. The question, there's two questions. One from Simon Smith and one from Matt Wilkins. Simon asked, can we have a rough timescale of when the first brick will be laid at Lionel Road, and estimated completion, as it seems to most Bees fans, quoting Simon Smith, this is going on without any real seeable progress being made. And Matt Wilkins is purely saying a very quick update on Lionel Road.
Yes, thank you, Peter. We are making progress. Almost every month that goes by, something new happens, which is we deem to be progress. And in September, we have had the CPO inquiry in relation to the last plot of land that we need to acquire. We're very happy with the way that turned out. We won't have a decision on that till probably the end of this year, but we're certainly pleased with the work that Chris and Brian and the team supporting them did in preparing us and in the submissions that we made, and we're confident that will lead to a successful outcome. Once that's done, and once the detailed planning permission has been approved on the residential element of the project, then the development partner will be in a position to finalise their financial arrangements. And so the answer to your question is, we're looking at getting on site in the early part of 2016. So let's say March, April time, if all goes well, and we think it will. And the build time is just over 2 years. So we would hope, again, if everything goes according to plan, to have the stadium built by the end of June 2018. We'll then have a couple of test matches in the new stadium. And so my vision is to play our first match, our first competitive match in the stadium at the start of the 18-19 season, which hopefully will be in the Premier League.
Thank you very much, Cliff. Is there anything to, I'm sure there isn't anything, but excellent answer, but anything to add, Chris or Brian?
Well, why not? Yeah, I mean, just probably worth recapping as to the progress we have made. So we bought the Lana Road site in June 2012. We put a planning application in May 2013 that, as I'm sure some people here, came down to Hounslow Civic Centre, and we're there supporting, and we got the right decision in December 2013. We bought the Duffy site in December 2014, and we signed our development agreement with Wilmot Dixon in December 2014. Unfortunately, we've come across a landowner. We own 86% of the land through the Duffy site and the main site. Unfortunately, we've come across a landowner who's trying to ransom the club. And so we've been forced to go down compulsory purchase order route. We've had huge support from the council, and we feel we're in a very strong position. The slightly frustrating element is that we can't put a firm timescale of when we will get that decision from the Secretary of State. So the planning inspector writes his report. We're expecting that to happen early November. Then it goes to the Secretary of State, and we'll be lobbying him for a quick decision. It could be January, it could be February. We'll be pressing as quickly as we can. That is the major hurdle that remains. We will then, as Cliff has highlighted, be looking to get on site as soon as possible. So certainly the aim at the moment is to get on site second quarter of next year. And just the other point just that came out earlier in terms of the disadvantage we have operating from dear old Griffin Park, our turnover, and the figures will come out, will be around about 8 million for last season in the Championship. The average turnover in the Championship, ignoring clubs who have parachute payments, is 17 million. That is the disadvantage the club is having to put up with by operating at Griffin Park. Although we love it, financially it just does not make sense. And these guys need that extra income to drive that, increase the ability of the squad.
Now, that answers the question with the answer of Andre Gray as well, I think. Chris, where are we going next? Who knows? I can see a hand over there.
Just wanted to ask about the development squad. Sure, everyone's pleased to see someone like Josh Clark getting a chance and playing as well as he did on Saturday. Are there any other development squad players coming through that are going to be close to first team action? I saw a bit of the development squad friendlies in the summer. I thought Jan Hodak looked very impressive, and I see he's doing quite well recently with a lot of goals. Just wonder how close he was to selection for the first team squad.
Good question. Jan has trained for the first time today with our squad. On Thursday we always do 11 against 11 to prepare our squad for Saturday. So he was involved by that. I also see a couple times playing. He can make a goal. He's dynamic, box-to-box player. So he's an interesting player. So I think at the moment, after Josh and Jermaine, he's maybe the third one. He's a bit close to the squad.
Okay, answered your question, sir. Thank you very much, Marinas. Two people in front row, Chris. Oh, I'm sorry, Trevor. So I missed you. How I missed you, I don't know.
I've no idea. Cliff, how much has our playing budget increased this season as compared to last season?
In percentage terms, it's about 25%.
And are you? Do we have value for money for that 25%?
Yes, I think so. As I said earlier, I think the quality in the squad is better than it was. I think we've got more depth, as Marina said. We have more players, which, by God, we needed them in the last couple of months with the injuries that we've had. We get a little bit more extra money from the Football League, and next season there'll be even more extra money from the Football League. It's not massive, but it's an improvement. We were able to secure a deal with the Premier League which ties the money that the Football League get to the television deal. So that television deal, which everybody knows is so large for the Premier League clubs, a small amount of that filters down to the Football League, and in the Championship we will get a little bit more money to spend next season for the benefit of the squad. The only thing that hasn't been mentioned tonight vis-a-vis, for example, Andre Gray, is financial fair play. Those regulations are very tight. Some of you may know that there were 3 Championship clubs last season who were embargoed and weren't allowed to buy anybody in the January transfer window. And we're aware of those issues, and we wanted to make sure that that wasn't going to apply to us for this coming season. And so the Andre Gray deal ensures that we will have complied with financial fair play, which means that we will at least be able to, if the right player comes along, and we need them, to make that purchase in January should it be necessary.
Thank you very much, Cliff. I have to say it's the beauty of an evening such as this evening that you do get to find out the real story behind it. And it's very easy to moan and groan when we're on the terraces, but these are the gentlemen who give you the answers. All you have to do is ask the question, which we are about to, with the microphone.
Thank you. Personally, I entirely understand why at the reported prices the club was happy to swap Andre Gray for Marco Jürgen, so I would make no issue of that. And we all understand that Brentford isn't going to be Manchester City. I think Mark told us at one of these at roughly this time last year that our budget was around 15th highest in the Championship. I just wonder if he can update us. Is it still around there, or has it comparatively got better or worse, the available playing budget?
Mark, record Williams.
I think that might have been Mark Wolverton. But I can tell you that we're in the lower third of the Championship budget for the reasons that Cliff mentioned earlier and Chris mentioned the turnover. So we're in the lower third portion, and I think punching well above our weight.
Absolutely. Sorry, Chris. Thank you.
Just to ask 1 or 2 questions around the approach towards transfers, and obviously we've got Andre Gray came out of the conference, and that was quite an interesting move. I had a friend who was a Luton fan who really rated him, but he wasn't the finished article. But are we looking? I mean, we just got Woods from Shrewsbury, but are we looking at those sort of lower levels? I mean, we looked at Callum Woods, I think, as well. Callum Wilson, the season before last. But we're taking a lot of players from Northern Europe, which is fine. They're all good players. But I wonder where else we're really looking, and how these transfers come to the club. Is it some people that we identify, or is it people that the agents put forward? So how does this process work?
Rasmus, Phil.
Yeah. Yes, I think there is an interesting market for us in the lower English leagues, and I think Andre Gray has shown that there's some diamonds in the rough. We also it's also relevant for another reason, and that's because of the rules about the number of homegrown players you gotta have in the squad. So we can't just get a team of Austrian players. We
South American.
yeah. We have to look in England, and we also think there are lots of value, as Andrew Gray proves. So to your question about how does these players come up? So they can come up through agents. I mean, agents are still a big part of the food chain in football, and some agents are really good at spotting talent and have a genuine interest in promoting their player's career and finding the right club for that player. So the agent network is pretty key for Brentford also to have an eye on those players. But it can also come up through our own systems. I mean, we still watch a lot of English football in League One, League Two, Conference. So there are different ways that these players come up. But there's definitely I think Andre Gray was a very raw player. He didn't go through like a structured talent development like most people do today, but he had something to him, and once he got in an elite environment, getting his fitness right, then we all saw his potential, and I think there's a lot of value if you can spot those whispering talents there. Yeah.
Thank you, Rasmus. Thank you.
Question for Mark. What is the latest position with the grounds maintenance contractor?
Thank you, Rasmus.
I'd have bet on this question and the pitch coming up before 7:25. I've got to say it's been an incredibly stressful period for people at the club getting the pitch right. So the main thing is the pitch at Griffin Park is of a very high standard. It's just a shame how we got there. In terms of responsibilities and things like that, we've still got various reports that we've requested and that we're waiting for final updates on. So we still have our contracted ground maintenance team at Sports Turf. They're still looking after the pitch. They did it successfully for a couple of years. It's been contracted out to them. Clearly something went wrong over the summer, and that's what we're looking to get to the bottom of. But so the pitch at Griffin Park is very, very good. The same contractors that reconstructed the pitch here and put in the drainage also did the two show pitches at Jersey Road. We still have a little bit of concern over there. We don't think to the same degree as Griffin Park, but again, subject to reports from an independent agronomist. We'll take that matter up when we get those reports and we've digested them, and then we'll make a decision on how we go forward with it. But for the moment, I'm just pleased to say that the pitch is playing really well here at Griffin Park.
Thank you very much, Mark.
Well, a question for Mark. I'm used to moaning about, that's why I do a fanzine. So, but first of all, I'd like to congratulate the club and yourself and your team for the ease and friendly approach in regards to sort of ticket sales and queries over the past season and a half. I've been down this club for 45 years, and it was almost a privilege for you to be able to sell, not you personally, but the club to be able to sell us a ticket, no, for us to actually get a ticket. But the tickets process is improved in a technological way, but also there's some brilliant customer service and interaction there as well, and I think that you need to be congratulated and pass on to your team as well.
Nick, just before you add to that, I mean, thank you for that, and I do read various message boards, as you would imagine, and I see the praise that's given to Rosina, Mads and the team in there, so they're well aware of it, but I will pass on the comments, thank you.
However,
I knew there'd be one. That's why I wanted to get in before you carried on.
Right. Hospitality prices have risen amazingly season on season, which isn't a problem. But what are the uptakes and what percentage to capacity have these been sold at full price? And are they, the next question is, are they pitched to cash in on away fans who can't get a ticket elsewhere to do these sellouts?
Cool, you are a conspiracist, aren't you? So they're definitely not pitched. They're definitely not pitched to attract away fans. Tickets for, in fact, we're very careful to try and vet any visiting supporters that fancy having a meal, because obviously the tickets that come along with the hospitality is sat in the Braemar Road stand and potentially would give us problems. We have been known to take some of the away allocation, the seats, and where we, for instance, last year we sold around 50 hospitality packages to Leeds United supporters, but they were all sat in the upper tier of the Brook Road stand, and they actually ate in the Siracusa restaurant, which Peter's made so famous after every goal. Hospitality prices have risen. Hospitality, as you imagine, last year was extremely popular. The room can only, we squeeze people in most weeks, to be fair, but that's not really an excuse. It's really not, I don't think it's the style and the culture of the club to try and squeeze absolutely out every penny out of anybody who goes in there. But the prices have risen because we need to increase revenue coming into the club. We have very limited corporate facilities here, hence the reason Brian and Chris have been doing what they're, doing their magic down at Lionel Road. So the prices have risen. My only explanation that I will give you for that is that we need to get some more money in, but we are busy in there pretty much every game. There are some low games. You probably would know the ones that I don't have to tell you, but you would know the ones where we do deals. But generally speaking, we try to sell at normal prices into there.
What's the average capacity on? What's the average figures on capacity?
We normally have a minimum of, so Saturday I would say is a quiet game. We've got 42 in there on Saturday. So it can really, once you get over 40 people, it starts being a little claustrophobic. And we have had 50, 60, 65 in there because people are so keen to get in there.
Thank you, Nick. Thank you, Mark.
There's a question for you, Peter, actually.
Crikey.
You do an exceptionally good job on a Saturday. I go to some away games and nobody really does it better than you. Unfortunately, on the new road, we can't hear you anymore. The sound system is
told some lesson in disguise from something, surely.
So I just wondered why that's happened, because as the crowd builds up before kick-off, it gets worse, and come half time when you're making an interview with somebody, you just can't hear anything, just a crackle, squeaky sort of voice. And
It's in a transitional stage. I have to say it's the first time for many years, as Mark will back up, that anything's really happened to the PA system. But we've got people in, it's got a brand new system, brand new microphone at the last game. I have to say there's real mixed reaction. There's people who've said they've heard me for the first time in years, and that's fact. And people like you said really can't hear anything, particularly so on the far side behind the dugouts.
Yes, that's right.
So there are areas of people here, and there are people in the moment. There'll be people back this coming Saturday, because it's one thing to test during the week when there's nobody here, and it sounds great, whoever's talking on it, or on a match day when there's a lot of people, you start swanning up the sound. So there are people in this coming Saturday again, and no doubt next Tuesday, and they will keep working hard until they get their levels right everywhere. So it's transitional at the moment. We do apologise. Think yourself lucky you don't listen to me on a match day, but we do apologise if it's not quite right. We know it will be, because it is a good system. As I say, it's just people walking around and making sure we get the right level, because there are other people saying it's far too loud. It's just trying to get that right balance. So if you just bear with us, we will get it right. Thank you.
Can I just add, Peter, there? Sorry, sir, if you can just let me know, your block and your seat number. What we'll do is we've got about half a dozen fans in New Road who've written to us, given us their details. On Saturday, we'll actually send people over to stand or sit in that vicinity when Peter's talking and the music's playing, and they can then feed back as well what we need to do. Sometimes it's to do with the microphone, sometimes it's the architecture in New Road, because Braemar Road, as Peter says, it's booming loud and clear most games now. So, but we do know there's some problems in New Road. But if you don't mind sharing with us your information, we'll send one of the technical guys over there to have a listen to it on Saturday.
I'll be there to talk to you. I'll go across, and if you want anything, just let me know, okay? Come talk to you personally. Chris, where are we next? It's Trevor again.
To paraphrase Oscar Wilde, to lose one pitch may be a misfortune, but to lose 3 sounds like carelessness. Marinus, how has this affected your preparation for the home games and everything else?
Yeah, I think that for me was one of the less disappointing thing over here. I liked very much over here. The club, especially the home games with the crowds, is beautiful. But when I first time was over here, it was a couple of years ago. But last year when I come here, I see a game against Bolton, and the pitch was very good. I went to the Oosterlee, and the pitches were brilliant. So I was thinking, so that's good. And yeah, I came over in June when it started, and there was all like a sand beach, like Ibiza. I was just go to Ibiza, but I don't like the strand beach. But they say, yeah, it will be okay. And that's disappointing, especially over here. First play against City, didn't see everybody see what happened, but disappointing. But also the training pitch, that's I think one of the most important things. We train almost every day. You need 2 good pitches, and we still on pitch 3. Pitch 3 is okay, but when I see last year the pitch 1 and 2, yeah, they were brilliant. And everywhere I come in the stadium, Leeds, Middlesbrough, the pitches are very good, much better than in the Netherlands, much better. And especially now, the Griffin Park is perfect. I like it very much now, so that's I'm happy with that. But yeah, still concerned about pitch 1 and 2. So that's disappointing.
Thank you, Trevor.
I see you nodding your head, Trevor. Just to let you know, one of the reasons why we did the Jersey Road pitches was because the previous manager would tell us at every meeting that they were waterlogged and that he had to train in about a third of one of the pitches. So I'm assuming that the results last year were good, dependent on that small part of the pitch that he could train on. But the 2 show pitches at Jersey Road just retained water, which is why we had to take remedial action during the course of the summer.
I think Trevor just annoyed himself. He couldn't think of any more well-known quotes. That's the trouble. So you're sure you'll get one in a moment, Trevor. I'm sure. Gentleman at the back.
Sorry, me again. One light-hearted question, one serious one. The serious one, I don't know who to direct it to, is a couple of years ago and last year we heard quite a lot about the academy and how it was working. I just wondered, there seemed to have been less prominence given to the academy in recent months and weeks, and I'd be interested to hear how that's developing. But the light-hearted question is directed to Marinus. How did you enjoy your chat with Uwe Rosler on the touchline at Leeds?
We'll come to the light-hearted one moment, because cheer everybody up after the tough ones, supposedly then. Rasmus.
Yeah, the academy is a part of the future vision for Brentford. So it's not forgotten. The academy has done progress in the last few years. We've come to a point now where we really have to think very careful about how do we create a different academy, because we are located in a highly competitive area. There's a lot of competition about a limited number of players. So like with the first team, where we think about how can we find different countries, different fields to recruit from, we gotta go the same process with the academy, and that's what we're discussing now. It's more a strategic process where we have to get right what is going to be the unique selling points for the academy. So to give you a small insight into it, one of the things we talk a lot about where we think we can be different is on the educational side. So is it possible to link a high-level education to Brentford Academy and use that to attract top players from England and from other countries? So that's some of the thoughts we are working with at the moment. But yes, it's a part of the future, and we got to try and keep improving it. But we also need to think about how we spend the money most wisely in terms of getting a competitive edge.
Thank you, Rasmus.
Yeah, that was a good question. I see there are also some journalists over here, so I have to be careful with my answer. But yeah, so as I mentioned, I'm really calm along the line because I want to analyze the game, see what happened, and I don't like a lot of shouting along the line because you don't reach your players, especially not in Championship. I think so. I think that's more get rid of your emotion, and I just want to analyze. And of course, sometimes you show your emotion, and especially when they come of one of your players like Toumani, and also what happened in Bristol City with Harley Dean. Yeah, when they try to fuck off my players, then they are mine. So I don't like that because that's my players. So then they have to step back, and then I'm not calm, but just saying what I think. So I don't like his behavior at all.
So it wasn't very sure, but absolutely right. Good words. Okay.
Similarly, a couple of questions if you don't mind. One serious, maybe one not quite so serious, but actually there are some serious connotations.
We'll be the judge of those then, okay, Dan.
First question is, I think looking around this room, there's a lot of fans who've actually been here for many years, and we've grown up with the club, being very much a family-orientated club, but feeling very much a part of the club. I mean, myself being of Korean origin and no footballing background, I go to games on my own, and I'm really lucky because I meet people who I can just talk to, watch the game with, and made many friends here. And this is very much, and I can honestly say, Brentford is part of me, part of my family. The fear is that there is a little bit of talk of some fans feeling that the club, the more successful it becomes, starts to become a little bit more disassociated from its fans. And perhaps it becomes a little bit more corporate. So my first question is, what is the club going to do to try and retain that friendliness, that feel that it is the fans' club? And the second question is, Marinas, will you ever give us a wave?
Marinas, did you think about that answer first?
Yes, but when I'm in the game, I'm analyzing and I'm also in the game, then I don't hear what you are singing. So that's not, I appreciate a lot because especially when away games, there go a lot of supporters. I'm not used to it. With Excelsior, there are always 35 away games. I know them all by name, 35, they're always the same. But the crowd over here, especially away, is very big. So, I get used now. It's a very important thing for me, but also especially for the squad. So I say to Roy next time, you have to listen what they're singing, and when they are singing, just he said, you have to wave. And then, but I know how it works now. After a couple of months, so we'll be fine in the future.
So looking at a wave will be preceded by a nudge. So there we go. Mark, if you want to take the first part of the question. Thank you.
I've seen little whispers of the question here and there. If I'm absolutely honest with you, I'm not sure entirely what the club is doing to make people think we're trying to disconnect in any way, shape or form from the fan base. So from the top down, staying close to the fans, retaining the values that I've come to understand in my 4 odd years here, that were made very clear to us in by the supporters that our communications team spoke to pre-season when we were looking at everything to do with our marketing and how we can communicate better with our fan base. Everything we're trying to do is to improve, to be more professional, but certainly not to in any way, shape or form disconnect. Now, if that means we have a brand new sign in Braemar Road, does that mean that we're disconnected from the fans because we didn't go around individually and ask people whether we could put it up or not? I'm not absolutely certain. Well, in fact, I am certain. I don't agree with that at all. I am committed to the club retaining its community traditions and staying close to the fan base. In fact, one of the biggest challenges we've got moving across to the new stadium, as well as filling it, is to make sure that a new stadium we retain the feeling, the sense that what makes Griffin Park special for fans, that we try and take that
feeling, that atmosphere. Somehow we've got to try and replicate it, and it won't be easy. The nature of the new stadium, with the fact that it's not just a standard, bog standard bowl, will help us with that. And I think we've taken on board quite a bit of feedback from fans as to what they'd like to see at the new stadium. So I can tell you that I'm committed to the club staying as close to the fans as it always has been. We have to be. You guys are the heartbeat of the club. It's what's made the club special. I've listened to Peter and telling me stories of his 250 years supporting the club. And you know, over 4 years, I've got a little flavour of it myself as well. I've got to know plenty of supporters. Some all very pleasant, will tell me some nice stuff. Others will be a bit more upfront with me and tell me the things that they don't like. And I think it's great that we can have those conversations without falling out with each other. So I'm not sure why fans feel that way. I'm not sure what it is we've done. We've tried to be a bit more professional in the way we communicate, but that doesn't mean that we're trying to alienate anyone whatsoever. It's very, very important to me that the club and the fans stay very, very close to each other. Thank you, Mark. I feel very old now, but thank you. Yeah, just come in a moment, Chris. But first, I want to ask a question for Phil. Phil's been sitting there very quietly, and we're touching on something we spoke of earlier. But Craig Tilliers via Twitter said, "Why haven't we utilised the loan market as much as we could have done?"
Well, I'm not sure we needed to. We've made a lot of permanent signings. We haven't had to rush out and get loan players in. I wrote it down before. I think we've got 24 permanent players, 2 loans, and that doesn't include the likes of Josh Clark, Jermaine, Udamaga. So for me, 24, a couple of loans is actually a nice number to have. Obviously, it's been a bit decimated by injuries. We might look to sort of bring a loan or 2 in to cover a few short injuries in the short term. But I don't think we bought a lot of players. So there's no need to add so many loans, I think.
Thank you, Phil. I just wanted to involve you. That was.
Thanks very much. Cheers.
Who's got my friend? Piers.
I could actually give you a real example of where you've not alienated, but where you've changed things. I think if you went to the 125th anniversary dinner, I think for the first time in all my years there was a room set aside for celebs, basically. So that in itself, is creating a them and an us situation. But I mean, can I widen the question? Yeah. Just in general terms, I mean, I think everybody here, without stating it, we might talk about the club, but I mean, we're all very supportive, because without Matthew, we wouldn't be doing what we're doing. And we all absolutely recognise that. And actually, that's a little bit of an aside. I was incredibly impressed when Scott Hogan was given an extension to his contract as well, when he's been out for 2 years. So that shows how, I think it shows how caring and friendly Brentford is. But moving ahead, if Brentford does achieve, and Matthew does achieve his dream of getting into the Premiership, one of the concerns would be is, prices are rising, and they will continue to rise, and you'll find that the ordinary fan who's been here for 50 years is no longer able to afford it. So, I think at the back of my mind, that is perhaps, what we're thinking about. And I just wondered, whether you could adopt something like the Bayern Munich philosophy, where the fans pay a reasonable price, and it's, the corporates basically, and TV revenues and other commercial activities actually bring in the money, but to allow the company, the football club to financially sustain them. So, beneath it, there is a regard for the firm, but I still think there is some concerns about when we achieve this objective, what's it going to mean for us who are sitting here today, basically, and can we come, and can we afford it?
Thanks for that, Piers. Goodness me. Right, short answer would do, but Mark, we're very lucky to have the owner we have, and I think most football clubs get promoted and they rub their hands together at board level and think, what can we shaft the fans for ticket-wise next year when we're in the Premier League? The safety valve that you guys have always got is Matthew Benham. We'd have had a very strong conversation between Matthew and the board as to what we would have done with prices in the Premier League, and it's the reason why we brought out the initial season ticket prices. I can assure you would have been the prices in the Premier League had we got promoted, because Matthew's thought was very similar to yours, which is there's enough money coming in. The Premier League is awash with all sorts of revenue streams coming in.
the very least we could do is reward people who come in, week out. And that philosophy comes from the owner, and I get the message loud and clear. Obviously my role along with the board is to try and maximise revenue into the club, so there's a fine line and there's a balancing act to be had. But I can assure you that I'm sure whilst Matthew's in charge of the club, then there'll be no trying to take advantage of fans if we reach the Premier League. And just to touch on your point about it was, if I recall correctly, it was just a reception room for some of our guests that were speaking that evening. We certainly didn't want it to, and you've got me thinking now, but we certainly wouldn't have wanted it to have appeared like we were putting celebs in one area and, you know, the great unwashed in another area. It wasn't that at all. It was just a pre-dinner reception.
Thank you, Mark.
Yeah, I'd just like to endorse Mark's comments. For those who don't know the numbers, next season in the Championship, the amount of money we receive will be 6% of the worst case scenario should we get into the Premier League. So we'll get 6% of what we would get if we were in the Premier League. So you can imagine with an extra 94% of income, the last thing we would ever dream of doing is making fans pay any more than is absolutely necessary. But of course, conversely, whilst we're in the Championship, we need your help. You know, we can't just rely on Matthew. So your help means that we have to charge you fair prices, and we have to charge fair prices for hospitality. And as Mark says, we have to make sure that we can get as much income as possible, so that the income we generate from fans, sponsors, dinners, etc., along with Matthew's money, gives us the best possible chance of getting into the Premier League.
Thank you very much, Cliff. Yes, Stephen, there. And then at the back, Chris.
Yeah, that was a question for Mark, actually. With the success the club has had in recent seasons, how noticeable has the increase in supporter awareness and, if you like, fan membership take-up been in season ticket sales, on the database, just in general awareness for the club?
Well, season ticket sales are obviously running very, very close to, in fact, just over the 6,000 mark. So we've managed to increase year on year. Clearly the performance on the pitch has helped us. And so that from a pure number of season ticket holders, average gate, number of members, all of those numbers are on the increase. You would expect that because the team have got promoted recently, done extremely well in their first year in the Championship. But I also think we have to recognise there's still a long, long way to go. There's all sorts of models that you can look at that show us how many people we need to be interacting with just on our database in order to give us any sort of chance of filling a new stadium on a regular basis, and we've a lot of work to do. So the wider world, I think, is much more aware of what Brentford is doing. Certainly the team's achievements over the past couple of years have definitely helped to put the club on the map. I think people take the club very seriously, both at Football League meetings, supporters. You know, I don't think we're the ugly cousins of West London anymore, that's for sure. And I think, you know, just our local rivals, for want of a better expression, stand up and take notice of us now. Whereas maybe a few years ago they maybe thought that they didn't need to do that. But I think we're a serious player in the football market. I think people recognise our aspirations, and they also recognise the slightly different way that the owner wants to go, and some of the things and the innovations that he's introducing. And there's a lot of people, I can assure you, come up and talk to me, some of my counterparts at other clubs, really interested in our model, and they'd like to. A lot of them are willing us to be successful because they would change to a similar model. So you know, it's Brentford is becoming much wider known, but we've got a lot more to do in terms of creating greater awareness and greater demand for tickets, memberships, and so forth. But we are getting there slowly but surely, and we're now getting the information, the metrics back, the data, the insight that tells us the progress we're making.
Thank you very much, Mark.
Is there an intention for any promotional days for games?
There will be, obviously, Rotherham we're doing something for season ticket holders with ticket prices, and as we go through the season, we have got a financial model for each game that's in place that will allow us to do promotions for certain games throughout the season.
Thank you. At the back.
Question for Erasmus and Phil. Moranis probably went into August not expecting to lose 3 players. I think it's fair to say we've been very successful in replacing 2 of those 3. With the January transfer window coming, I'm sure he doesn't want to face the same problems again. Do you guys identify possible players that will get the offer for that we have to accept, and then we have plans in place to replace those players?
So the question is, do we have players who we've identified to say? I didn't quite catch the specific question.
Players that you feel may be lost in the transfer window and possible replacements lined up?
We haven't identified a list of players who we will sell in January. There's no plan to sell players in January. So, I mean, we're constantly looking for players to come in, but like I say, by January we're going to have, well, I would hope, apart from Andreas and Scott, we'll have everyone back fit, I hope, and no new injuries. So by that point we'll have a strong squad. So we'll see about players in, but there's certainly no plan to sell players in January.
Thank you.
Can I just say, I mean, the goal will always be to get stronger out of the transfer window than we moved into the transfer window, and sometimes that means losing some players but replacing them with better players. But the thing with transfers is that you always know what you have, but you never really know what you get, and so there's always a risk to that, and we hope that we can with our methods make sure that we are more than successful than other clubs in when we get to replacing those players.
Thank you, gents.
Bring Marinus back into this perhaps for a few minutes. Just picking up on that last point, I've got 3 very quick points. One is goalkeeper. I mean, that would be the issue around cover. Then there's the question of basically around the defence, in particular the central defence. And then there's the question of free kicks and corners. So far, we probably haven't scored too many from dead ball situations, but that was part of our approach. So just to get a few observations, please, Maris.
Our goalkeeper is very good. I like him very much.
What happens if he gets injured?
Then we have a second one, Jake Bonham. He was not playing good against Oxford, but we all didn't play good, and also make not a good choices, so you can blame him for the one game. But David is a very good goalkeeper, and I think he's potential for Premier League. But he still has to get more experience. But I think he's have everything for a very good goalkeeper. He's a bit more experience. The second one was the centre backs.
The central defenders, yes.
Yeah, we have 4 now, or fit. Harley Dean is out of contract end of the season. Tawoski is still a couple of years. Joan Barbet has still a couple of years, and also Jack O'Connell. So we have 4. That's good. Especially when we also have 2 left one. I think I was happy with the game from Johan. He was the first 4 weeks in the preseason very good. And then he struggled a little bit in the games against Luton and Norwich City, especially with the physical strikers, with the fights over here. So he knows by himself he has to be stronger, so he does a lot of fitness, but he's on the ball, very good player. We saw it the last two games, so that's why he played. When we played, for example, we had played to Ipswich last Saturday, then he chose at that moment maybe for Jack O'Connell because he's physical but stronger. But now we are more on the ball, so that's why Johan played. Johan is very good playmaking, so he's getting better and better. Now confident with two games. I think Tawoski will be back this weekend, so that's good. We have 4 again, so I think we have 4, and so that's good. So I hope Harley Dean stays. I think then we have all options over there. And the final one was the set pieces. Yes, we get a lot of attention for that. I think we just scored 1 against Ipswich, Yeah, I put everybody in front also. Butch was asking me what I do if I said, go on. So we are lucky with that goal. A couple of games were very dangerous, especially Saturday with Johan Babet was free. We have a plan for the free kicks, for the lateral free kicks, for the corner kicks. I think a little bit struggling. We are not very good headers. I think that's the main thing here in the championship. There are a lot of players can very good heading, and I think especially our defenders are very good in defending heading, but attacking heading is far more difficult. I know by myself. I was okay with heading, but yeah, it's a different type of heading. So I think we have a plan and we work on it. So finally we get results from that, I hope.
Thank you very much, Renus.
For Mark, on ticket pricing, we're going away from home. Some of the pricing of tickets for children are very, very high. Which, I pay my grandchildren £24 for Leeds, whatever. And we're charging £8 to come here. Can't reciprocate.
The short answer to that is that Football League rules prohibit us from doing that. I'm not even sure it's right to go down the tit for tat route. I do accept your point, and some of the prices last season were extremely high. Certainly in some of the younger age groups, the concessionary prices were laughable at a couple of clubs last year. So I'm proud of the prices that we've got, because we've got to price it to get kids and families joining, people who've been supporting the club for years and building up the fan base. But sadly, we can't. It would be part of my nature to go tit for tat with a couple of clubs, but we're not allowed to, I'm afraid.
How is it that the younger children at these grounds go in cheaper than ours?
That's just the way we price, and they obviously have their own budgets, their own pricing model. We have ours. Getting kids in is very important to us. Did you say Leeds were charging £24 for kids? I mean, maybe they feel they can get away with it. Maybe they feel that the demand is there, and they can. We're back to the question earlier, which was, do we take the mickey out of people? In the way that we price our products. We don't think we do that, but we can't force Leeds to drop their prices. You guys, by boycotting some of the games, can do some of that, and I know that some of that went on with clubs last year. But then you also want to support your team away from home, so it's a difficult situation. But I appreciate your point. But Football League rules mean that we can't price per club. We have to come up with our pricing model at the start of the year.
Thanks, Mark. Thanks,
Just
Phil.
a light-hearted one. When we play QPR, you're part of the family. We appreciate everything you do. What end do you go and then hug your wife?
I'll give you the look. Mr. Hester asked me this last year in an interview, and I will give you an honest answer. My son will be in the away end. Okay, you cannot sit and work alongside people and week in, week out, and then at a football club, and then hope they don't win their game at the end of the week. So if we beat Rangers, or should I say when we beat Rangers, I'll be celebrating our goals, because it's my life, it affects everything I do, and frankly Rangers winning the game doesn't actually have a positive effect on me, other than avoiding the mickey taking that my son will give me. So I want Brentford to win. I have to. How can I sit alongside these gentlemen and want anything other than a win? It's happened to be before, funny enough. When I worked at Swindon Town, I had the same situation with Swindon going to QPR, where a win for Swindon would have taken them above QPR in the promotion race. This is going back a few years now. So I had to go through it then, and I sat there and was really cheesed off when Swindon lost the game. So it may seem strange to you guys, because you bleed red and white, and I understand that completely. But from a professional point of view, I want Brentford to win every game they play, and that includes against the other lot.
In fairness to Mark, he did say earlier about Brentford no longer the poor cousins of West London. We know who they are, and they're always there. Any more questions? Okay, Nick again. Yeah.
Right, last one from me, and this is for Cliff. Cliff, did you honestly and really have a half and half scarf the other night at FC Midtjylland? And can you confirm that you'll never ever sell them in our club shop?
I did. As you know, I'm a member of the board at FC Midtjylland, and I love going to watch their matches. And of course, the opportunity came to go and see them at Southampton. And it was a lovely evening. The Southampton directors were very friendly, and the club did particularly well on the night. And it was pretty cold actually that evening. So as I had a half and half scarf which I'd acquired in Midtjylland, I thought it would be opportune to bring it along and wear it. And yes, I did see a number of comments on Twitter about how could I possibly have worn that, and I should never wear it again. And so I won't be wearing it again in Griffin Park.
So did you wear an Arsenal Tottenham half and half one last night?
No, that's not really appropriate. But you know, you can't please all the people all the time, and some people love the scarves, and obviously some people don't. But the important thing is you're supporting your team, and that's what counts.
Thanks, Cliff. Anybody else? Any more questions? Trevor? Yes. Got another saying?
Obviously, we're all indebted to Mr. Bellingham. He's put in, reportedly 100 million into this club, which is a phenomenal amount of money, and I think we're all grateful to him. But my question is to Cliff. How closely tied are we to the economic cycle of smart odds? I.e., if Matthew goes through a bad patch, how does that affect the financing of this club? And how does that affect the financing of transfers during the transfer windows, etc.?
The answer to that actually really lies in the financial fair play regulations. So the FFP rules have changed, and for last season, for example, the maximum loss that was allowable was £6 million. For the current season, the maximum loss allowable will be £13 million. And from next season onwards, they will look at it over a 3-year period, and over a 3-year period, the maximum loss will be 39 million. So 13 million a year. So actually, Matthew's, or the performance of Matthew in terms of what he does, actually doesn't have a huge significance. We have to work within the budget that we set at the beginning of the season, and within the FFP regulations, which I mentioned earlier. And that's why some decisions are taken, because we have to comply with the rules, and we will always try to do that to the best of our ability.
So there's no sort of worst case scenario that happens at smart odds this season or next season that can affect this season, next season, or the season afterwards?
I don't think you can ever say there's never a scenario, because of course you can't give that commitment. But we're comfortable that the way in which we work, and the way in which we operate, the way in which we run the club, we know in advance what our anticipated loss will be. And it's one of the reasons why Chris and Brian have worked tirelessly over the years to enable us to move to a larger stadium, because we know that it's not sustainable going forward. We're doing a really good job within the confines of the regulations, and with all the support that we've had from Matthew, and I've no doubt that we will continue to receive that support, but we have to try and get our own house in order, and one of the ways of doing that is moving to a new stadium, and the other way, of course, is getting into the Premier League, and that's where our focus is, on both of those achievements, because if we can make that, then we become self-funding, and that's really, as a board, that's our chief objective, is to make us self-funding.
Thank you, Cliff. Thank you, Trevor. Any more questions? Gentleman there, thank you very much, Chris.
Yeah, I just wanted to know why, the club had a success last year, and you're talking about distancing yourself away from supporters. And really this year we expected under rules that we would have gone up, and now it's gone back 2 years. you know, the supporters seem to have got a raw deal. I mean, at the end of the day, he said he used your statistics and he was quite happy, but he didn't believe that he should have two guys picking his players. And I think a lot of clubs have got managers like that. They don't want other guys picking their players. You know, what's your answer to sort of, as I said, that sort of thing, distancing through not considering the supporters and their expectations? They've just had the rug pulled under their feet and they're going back 2 years.
Sorry, so the question is?
Well, why at the end of the day did you get rid of a successful manager when and we expected this year to go up? We would have gone up under.
Well, yeah, I think it's, all due respect, so I think it's supposition anyway. Okay. Yeah, I think so. I mean, if anybody answers that, but I think it's supposition to say we can expect what would happen. I don't think we could do. And I think we've spoken about why changes were made and been very good responses to all the questions we've had. So I'm not trying to diss your question, but as I say, I think pure supposition. Any other questions? Oh, is that very slow finger there? Yeah. Don't be afraid. Is he out or is he not? Yeah.
I'm worried that I've asked too many, but can I go back to the point about away tickets and ask, directed to Mark, is what discussions he is having with other chairmen about the, for instance, 20 for 20 is 20 enough campaign, so that away supporters are getting a fair deal. There are some clubs that have negotiated individual deals amongst themselves so that away supporters get a decent rate, and I wonder whether you have had any discussions with your equivalents about whether away fans from Brentford will be getting a good deal.
The short answer is I've had the only instance of clubs doing a sort of a deal between them is in the Premier League. I think Newcastle and somebody else. I'm trying to remember which team it was. The Football League are very aware of the 20s Plenty campaign, and what we can do is focus on our own prices to ensure that we balance and reach our budgets and don't price ourselves out of the market and price ourselves in such a way as we can maximise revenue whilst trying to fill Griffin Park. So it's a tough balancing act. I've not had any individual conversations with chairman. I brought it up at the Football League. I'm on the Football League Commercial Committee, and we brought it up. I think it was Billy from Besotted mentioned it to me last year, just prior to the Norwich game, and I spoke to the Football League about it at the time. So there is work going on behind the scenes at the Football League, but what they can't do at the moment is force people to price at a certain level. It might be that something like that can happen in the future, but at the moment the clubs all set their own prices. Norwich last year, when I spoke to them about their pricing, simply batted it away and said, we'll get 26,000 here. We could fill it with 35,000 with the prices that we're charging. In a very nice way, they told me to bugger off. It wasn't their problem that our fans thought it was too expensive, and that was Norwich City last year. And you'll see that Crystal Palace fans had a few problems with Norwich on the opening day of the season because of their pricing in the Premier League. So I've not personally had any conversations with any individual chairman, but what I have done is brought it up with the Football League centrally, who I know are looking to come up with fairer ways and coming up, working with supporters to see a way of increasing attendances. And you'll get your chance, I think, sooner rather than later, because the Football League are currently embarking on, they're looking for feedback for supporters on what the Football League means to them, as opposed to their own club, but what the Football League means to them. Things like pricing, things like being able to have a beer whilst watching the game, stop treating us differently to rugby and to cricket fans, things like that, the safe standing, things like that. The Football League are trying to lead the way on those. And sorry, it's a long answer to your question, but I've not had any conversation, but I do think there are Football League clubs are very aware of it. In time, you may see slightly more sensible pricing by those clubs that, in my opinion, and yours clearly, charge very high prices. You'll see them, hopefully, coming up with slightly more sensible pricing going forward.
Thank you very much, Mark. We'll just take a few more questions. Gentleman at the front.
This one isn't a question, I just wanted to have the chance to say before the end, this has been absolutely excellent, and thank you all of you. And I do hope we have another one before the end of the season, because this is just the sort of interaction which I think is really excellent and part of this club.
Absolutely.
One comment about the pricing issue. I was talking to some Leeds fans after the win at Leeds last year, and there was a father and son who were Leeds fans who came up from Sussex and London, and they had home season tickets, and they had away season tickets, and the home season tickets were about £450, and the away tickets were 730 odd quid, because nobody can get away tickets at Leeds. I think you need to see this thing in a context. They took 9,000 people to Blackburn. You just can't get tickets if you're a Leeds supporter, so you need to be quite grateful in a way that you are supporting the club, where you can watch the away team. We haven't, I don't think, had too many problems in terms of being able to get access to games away.
And access to tickets not being a problem, but in my opinion, I think a couple of clubs last year for the Championship were priced incorrectly. And it was the responses more than anything else that I found concerning. But we're all different. We all operate very different clubs, very different values, and we have a different set of values from some of the other clubs. Now, I'm not saying we're angels. We are here to try and bring as much revenue in as we can. But I think there's more sensible ways of doing that than some of the ways that we saw last year.
Thank you very much, Mark. Gentleman in the middle.
We've spoken a lot tonight about this 3-year plan to get into the Premier League, and we know the Championship's a very competitive league. I was wondering, if after the end of that 3 years those targets are not met, is this philosophy adaptable?
You just trod away at the end, sorry.
Sorry, I'm just wondering, is the philosophy adaptable if we don't hit our targets at the end of 3 years? Is the plan B on the pitch? Is there a plan B behind the scenes?
Okay, Brad, it's the plan B behind the scenes.
No. It's not an option to not be in the Premier League. It has to happen in the next 3 years. I'm very confident that will happen. But we also admit that what we're trying to do is different. So there is a risk with that. There's no guarantee, and football is a random game, as we used to say. So we'll see, but we will not stick to something that we realize doesn't work. Then we will change the strategy. But we think that the competitive edges we have identified will give us an advantage, and that's not going to happen overnight. But that's going to be a process. So at the moment, no plan B, because we will be in Premier League in 3 years.
You heard it here. Not for the first time. Any other questions before we round up the evening? I think not. Well, ladies and gentlemen, people on YouTube, I hope you've enjoyed this evening. As the gentleman there said, it really sums up what it's all about. A really great panel. Please put your hands together for Cliff, Marina, Rasmus, Phil, and Mark. And there will most certainly be another fans forum in good time, well before the end of the season. But thank you very much again, everybody.
Thank you, James. Good questions. Yes, nice. Well, tough. It needed to be.